Hi, Mike.
So can you walk us through your studio space and how you use it?
So, I try to use up as much as I can with my studio space, but with that, I kind of like to reuse my materials. So, put up my drawings that I've worked up on the walls, but then the rest of the space is kind of reserved for almost like my model graveyards. I just keep the pieces of what I've made before and what I have already photographed, and I just keep kind of almost dissecting it and grabbing as many different sketches or cardboard pieces that I had used in the past to see if I can put it together to make something new, which has always been kind of fun, but leads to a little chaos sometimes around my floors.
Can you tell us a little about your current body of work and practice, and how would you describe it to someone encountering your works for the first time?
Yeah, so my work I've kind of developed over the past few years has mainly been focused on architectural spaces. So I want to become an architect, and I also really fell in love with the drawing classes at Davidson. And I developed this practice where I would sketch out these ideas that I had on paper, and it started to become black paper because I just was super drawn to the high contrast areas that were created with the light and shadows through these dark spaces. And then I would just take these sketches and use the exact same paper to make models out of it. And just because I felt like the sketches sometimes couldn't always get me to where I wanted to be on that final drawing at a larger scale, and I would go in and photograph the models that I made and kind of try to uncover different angles or perspectives that I kind of couldn't envision just by sketching. And then I would take those images, either blow it up to scale sometimes on a nice digital print, but mainly the goal was to get that drawing that I had originally envisioned in my head through the sketches.
What draws you to working in the medium where materials you use?
Yeah, so I mentioned the black paper. I think that that's been a huge thing for me. Just being able to get those super dark darks that kind of show through in the models, and the images of the models that I create, and then building up the bright, like, light pastels that I've been working with have been super great. I so recently had gone up in scale, and with that I found like these giant pastels that have been super fun to work with, because it just helps me get color and contrast on the paper much easier. And I love the soft pastels that I use because I just feel like I'm able to build so much and create such subtle shifts of light on the paper.
What are some artists' influences?
I have drawn a lot from the light and space movement. I was introduced to Robert Irwin last semester, and I really loved how he created spaces in his installations, exhibitions, and was able to kind of manipulate light in his favor, which is something I try to do my best in my work. And then, obviously, James Turrell, he inspired me a lot when I was moving into more colorful works. Just seeing how his light sources kind of interrupted spaces, or even, like, formed spaces, was super, super inspiring for me.
Are there any influences outside of art that shape how you work?
I am super interested in architecture, hopefully pursuing a master's degree next year, and that's kind of where, when I get stuck, I just look around me, or I look in any architecture blogs, magazines, just gain inspiration from as many different professionals or people that I can, because inspiration is all around me. Like, it's not, I can find it in like the smallest space.
Yeah, and we kind of already touched on this when we're talking about your practice, but how does a piece usually begin for you, and how do you know when it's finished?
Yeah, for me, a piece, sometimes it takes a while. I could make one model and be like, wow, this is great, I'm super happy with it, let's draw it right now. Or I would have to, sometimes even this semester, make like 4 until I got to the place that I wanted, which within the other 4 that I didn't like for a drawing, maybe I had interesting images that I could print out because I thought that they spoke better digitally, but they didn't speak to me to draw for whatever reason. But I think for me, the most complete piece of work is when I get to the final drawing and I can just take a step back and be like, yes, that is what I pictured originally, and I'm super happy with it.